what is going on right now? Why is Afghanistan not stopping and just looking at Pakistan? We have just won the war against India, knowing the fact that we know how to defend ourselves and everything we have. Still, Afghanistan is like pushing something here. What is the reason behind this?
We have won the war against India last year, and this year we have also won the world over to our side by the Iran-US peace mediation which Pakistan has carried out. So Pakistan has come a long way in this 1 year. Its global global stature in the geopolitical world has risen dramatically, and this is exactly what is not being digested, absorbed by either the Indians or the Afghans. And incidentally, they both happen to be aligned at the moment, totally aligned against Pakistan. So there is an axis, or rather a nexus, that is Delhi and Kabul, and that's the exact situation today, that Pakistan is facing a two-front war, or you can call it 1.5 front, because Afghanistan is not that big a threat to Pakistan as India is. Anyway, it is aligned with India. That's the bad part of it.
See, of course, we are really very blessed, because we have just seen a few tensions like since past year. Since Field Marshal is there, he is like handling everything really in an amazing way, and fighting with all these people who are just like to somewhere put themselves into the discussion of our media and of the media everywhere. But considering Afghanistan, I don't really understand like the Fitna al-Khawarij. I would just say that because I don't know why they still use like Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, because we have no connection with them at all. But still they are just like there, and something initiated by India. I don't want to say that because they themselves are the terrorists. What do you think Afghanistan actually needs now?
Well, one thing the Indians are giving them is money. Okay. The other thing that the Indians are promising them is land, and they are promising Pakistani land that
which India has never taken.
Which doesn't belong to India anyway.
Yeah.
What Kabul needs today is a new regime, a regime which cares for the people of Afghanistan, which cares for the women of Afghanistan. See the plight of the Afghan women. I'm not talking as the Western propagandists do. I'm talking as a human, from the human angle. Look at the children who are malnourished, and see the refugees, Afghan refugees living in Pakistan. They don't want to go back. Yeah. Pakistan is following a correct policy. Our government and state is following the correct policy, because these refugees came here on account of two wars. First was the Russian war, that is the Soviet Union, and second was the American occupation. Yeah. Because of these two reasons, these refugees came here, because of the spillover and all the effects. And now that the wars are over, Afghanistan is not occupied, and as the Taliban regime in Afghanistan claim, it's now paradise or hunky-dory and it's all very good. If it's all very good, well then their people should be going back. So Pakistan is totally and logically justified in that, and in any case Pakistan's own economy needs to look after its own citizens.
Afghanistan, I think they only know one thing, that is war or fighting, because that's why they're there in the government as well. But there is one thing, like if we like consider like things we are going on right now, we are facing right now, is that since the Field Marshal is here, Mr. Asim Munir is here, we are like facing things very differently.
Well, there is no discussion on that. It's very clear. Pakistan has, as I said, come up in 1 year, just 1 year, May 2025 to June 2026. This is 1 year. Within 1 year, you see yourself, the whole world says it, to read articles, you see videos, you see social media. It's a Pakistan which in May 2025 stood up to India, who has, or Indians claim, a GDP 10 times bigger than you, a defense budget 7-8 times bigger than you, and a military force bigger than you, much bigger than you. Despite that, you stood up to them, you fought them for 4 days, and if it had gone further, we would have fought them further. And if they attack us again, Sindhu 2, we will defend Pakistan, and not only defend Pakistan, I dare say we will strike very hard against India. So, and this is not a threat, I'm trying to explain.
This is the reality actually.
This is actually deterrence. We want peace. We are not interested in threatening India, or for that matter anybody. What I'm saying is that if Pakistan is attacked, then 250 million Pakistanis, led by armed forces and headed by the Field Marshal, CDF, are there to defend Pakistan.
Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum, welcome back to the podcast, and with Redlines, here is meerabzeeshan with you, and I am joined by a really great person, because I have seen him like reading books and writing, and he has a vast knowledge about the geopolitics and international relationships. So I have invited Brigadier Nadir Mir along with me. So welcome, Assalamu alaikum, how are you?
Thank you, Mirab, I'm just fine.
Okay, so Nadir, how are you? Hope you're doing well.
Thank you so much.
Nadir, first of all, just tell me that what is going on right now? Why is Afghanistan not stopping and just looking at Pakistan? We have just won the war against India, knowing the fact that we know how to defend ourselves and everything we have. Still, Afghanistan is like pushing something here. What is the reason behind this?
We have won the war against India last year, and this year we have also won the world over to our side by the Iran-US peace mediation which Pakistan has carried out. So Pakistan has come a long way in this 1 year. Its global stature in the geopolitical world has risen dramatically.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what is not being digested, absorbed by either the Indians or the Afghans. And incidentally, they both happen to be aligned at the moment, totally aligned against Pakistan. So there is an axis, or rather a nexus, that is Delhi and Kabul. And that's the exact situation today, that Pakistan is facing a two-front war, or you can call it 1.5 front, because Afghanistan is not that big a threat to Pakistan as India is. Anyway, it is aligned with India. That's the bad part of it. So this is the present situation as it exists today, and it should not have happened, because as you know, when we go into the past, we'll see all that Pakistan did for the Afghan people and all that Pakistan is willing to do. Despite all that, basically, as you just mentioned in my introduction about geopolitics, it's seeing the bigger picture. We must understand the bigger picture in Pakistan. The bigger picture is not what we keep talking about, terrorism. Nobody says why this terrorism happening, who are the terrorists, and how can they fight a Pakistan army, which is the brave and valiant and a professional army, and the entire nation of 250 million resilient nation. It's because there is a method behind this madness. And the madness is coming both from Delhi and from Kabul.
Okay, that's very interesting, honestly. Like, if I think about India, of course, the conflict is understood. Of course, we have tension since the early times, and whenever since the partition thing, we have that conflicts along with us. But when we talk about Afghanistan, we have showed the brotherhood, and we were so close, and we have helped them a lot of times in many dimensions and in many ways. But still, why is Afghanistan connected? What is the connection actually? I would love to know about it.
Well, we must understand the background. First of all, as a geopolitician, I am explaining this. Where is Pakistan located? People keep talking about ideology of Pakistan. Nobody talks about the geography of Pakistan. The single most important thing, United States is a global power, not because of its ideology, but because of its geography. Russia is the greatest power because of its geography. And geography is as important as anything else. So, simplifying it, Pakistan was created where on the fault lines of history and geography. What it means is, this is where, if you see geography, if you see the map of Pakistan, this incidentally is a book on, my first book, which is Gwadar on the Global Chess, but I'm using it just to show the map now. We'll talk on Gwadar later if you want. See the map. Where is Pakistan? Pakistan is where the ancient empires, historical empires, Indian empires, Afghan empires, Persian empires, they all met. Sometimes one empire was going ahead, sometimes the other. And the Afghans, third battle of Panipat, Ahmad Shah Abdali comes, defeats the Indian Marathas, 1761, captures Delhi, and then relents and goes back. So this has been, and then the sixth rise. This is the history, what I'm trying to explain. So what I'm trying to say, this Indus, around which Pakistan is, and when recently Indus has become very important, as we have realized, because Indus Water Treaty and water is being held by the Indians, stopped by the Indians. So this is Pakistan located between what was India, what was Afghanistan, and what was Persia. So these are the historical fault lines. And many of these people, especially the Indians and the Afghans, they harbor designs. The Indians have never accepted Pakistan. They talk of POK, which is Pakistan occupied Kashmir, as they call it, which is Azad Kashmir. And rather than giving up Jammu Kashmir, which is part of Pakistan, they want to take Pakistan's part. This is one. Afghanistan never accepted Pakistan. They refused to accept Pakistan when Pakistan was created.
But what is the reason behind this?
The reasons I'm explaining, these are the historical reasons, and the Kabul regime has always had this design of capturing lands up to the Indus River. They claim it right now. They've published maps. This present regime in Kabul has published maps. So entire Kabul regime may not be, all of them may be against Pakistan, but they are right now aligned or allied with India, as of now, or most of them, or those that are in power, or those that matter today. That tomorrow that can change. As you know, there is regime change, like you experienced in Bangladesh. Sometimes there is a pro-Indian government, and now there is a not so pro-Indian government there. So in Kabul also, we can hope for a change in the government in Kabul. But as they say, hope is not a strategy. So we must do something. Pakistan must do something to ensure two things. Either change the behavior of the Kabul regime against Pakistan, or bring about a change in the Kabul regime. So, in the end of the day, this instrument of terror which they are using, its terror is an instrument. It's not something which is happening by itself. We keep saying, it is terrorist groups. These terrorist groups are supported, guided, controlled, scripted, logistically backed by Kabul and Delhi both, and maybe some others also. So, we need to work it out in such a manner that the regime in Kabul is unable to pursue this policy of confrontation, through asymmetrical terrorist confrontation against Pakistan. And by the way, we are in a very happy situation today, as you just mentioned yourself. Last year we won the war against India under the Field Marshal, and this year under the Field Marshal again, Pakistan is in the global spotlight as a diplomatic power, bringing peace to the Middle East and peace to West Asia. So we should use all this goodwill and all this enormous geopolitical leverage that we have achieved. It should be used to ensure the security of Pakistan as far as Afghanistan is concerned and the western border is concerned.
See, of course, we are really, really very blessed because we have just seen a few tensions like since past year. Since Field Marshal is there, he is like handling everything really in an amazing way and fighting with all these people who are just like to somewhere put themselves into the discussion of our media and of the media everywhere. But considering Afghanistan, I don't really understand like the Fitna al-Khawarij. I would just say that because I don't know why they still use like Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, because we have no connection with them at all. But still they are just like there, and something initiated by India. I don't want to say that because they themselves are the terrorists. Actually, we have seen them multiple times. But as you have just mentioned the historic point of view, considering that how these are the building blocks and what is the connection between like all of us, what do you think Afghanistan actually needs now?
Well, one thing the Indians are giving them is money. Okay. The other thing that the Indians are promising them is land, and they are promising Pakistani land that
which India has never taken.
Which doesn't belong to India anyway.
Yeah.
So what Kabul needs today is a new regime, a regime which cares for the people of Afghanistan, which cares for the women of Afghanistan. See the plight of the Afghan women. I'm not talking as the Western propagandists do. I'm talking as a human, from the human angle. Look at the children who are malnourished, and see the refugees, Afghan refugees living in Pakistan. They don't want to go back. Yeah. Pakistan is following a correct policy. Our government and state is following the correct policy, because these refugees came here on account of two wars. First was the Russian war, that is the Soviet Union, and second was the American occupation. Yeah. Because of these two reasons, these refugees came here, because of the spillover and all the effects. And now that the wars are over, Afghanistan is not occupied, and as the Taliban regime in Afghanistan claim, it's now paradise or hunky-dory and it's all very good. If it's all very good, well then their people should be going back. So Pakistan is totally and logically justified in that, and in any case, Pakistan's own economy needs to look after its own citizens. Even though we, as you said yourself, and every Pakistani knows, we have cared for the people of Pakistan, for Afghanistan for 5 decades, for almost 50 years, even before 79. And we will do so in future also. But that does not mean that they can stay here, or either way they can go back and then create trouble for us. And as for the your question, what does Afghanistan need? Afghanistan needs to be developed geo-economically. And I again refer to this book which I showed you earlier. When I made the Gwadar concept, one of the ideas I gave was that link Central Asia and of course through Afghanistan. So Afghanistan would also prosper. The Afghanistan needs prosperity like every other nation, like Pakistan does, like every country needs. Yeah. So the economic cycle is revived in Afghanistan, but there is a problem there. The problem is that the present regime sitting in Afghanistan, instead of exporting goods and services which can come from Central Asia, Russia, so many other areas, and within Afghanistan, they are exporting terror. So you can't have terror as an export. So secondly, the Americans who have been giving money to the Afghan government, we should be now telling the Americans, after all, we are very close to the Americans on account of the mediation we're doing with Iran and the others are foothold in West Asia with Saudi Arabia and everything else. We should tell the Americans, and we should tell it publicly, and we should tell the other Europeans and all the other nations that all things related to Afghanistan are to be bound internationally by Afghanistan giving up terrorism. It should look, what it needs is care for its own people rather than bringing war to the region.
No, they actually start from their own country. Look at just the women of there, the children, as you have just mentioned. There is no education, there is nothing. Only the cricket, which is like being discussed everywhere about Afghanistan, which is something good to discuss. And even that is like, covered with the politics right now. We taught them like everything. When they came to Pakistan, we taught them about so many things. But considering Afghanistan right now in a position, don't you think the forceful government coming and covering Afghanistan, the people like who are at some stages right now, the government and the leaders, don't you think they should just tell them to stop and don't even consider themselves as a country anymore? Because something done forcefully cannot be a country or something. Don't you think that?
Well, as they say, in a perfect world, that should be what you are saying, but it's not like this. Realpolitik and geopolitics and even normal politics is quite different. So it's a regime which is in power in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And, they're imposing their will. And, Afghanistan is a multi-ethnic society. It has got many segments. So there should, what I'm trying to say, we as Pakistan don't want to, or it's not our job really to dictate what regime has to be there or what they should do. We are just suggesting as an academic that how it can be better for Afghanistan. But it is our right to make sure that Pakistan is not attacked from Afghanistan in any form, terrorist or otherwise. That is one, whether it's a TTP, TTA or whatever it is. And if it does happen, then Pakistan has the right to respond. And we have responded, as you've seen, kinetically also. But in my opinion, in my personal opinion, it's not the right strategy or policy. I mean, we must reply, but when then we reply, it should be with disproportionate force. We should not reply in a token or a tit for tat. We should not equate ourselves. Pakistan should not equate ourselves with terrorists or anybody like that, or a militant group. If somebody does that, Pakistan's response must be overwhelming. When Pakistan either use peace and diplomacy and everything else and all the other, you have so many things in the toolbox, and use the carrot as they say. But when it comes to force, then it must be overwhelming force, which forces the regime there to change policy. We have never used that kind of force. You have to use that kind of force to change it, or unless you change the regime itself.
There are some countries who cannot actually understand the peace thing. They are just always available to listen the forceful act, so then they can calm down. And I think Afghanistan is just doing the same thing. We have never tried anything against them. We are just doing our own thing. We are just like having a country and we are living here peacefully. But whenever they create tensions, then we have to answer them forcefully. How would you like to actually appreciate the military of Pakistan, and also the political mindset, which is actually handling every tension which is coming since past year?
Well, the military, as far as is concerned, Pakistan military is rated as one of the best in the world. There is no doubt. It is not only that I am from the Pakistan military, or you are supporting the Pakistan military. All Pakistanis support the Pakistan military. Every Pakistani is a soldier, whether in uniform or supporting the uniform. Either way. And there is no discussion on that. We have proved, it has been proved time and again against India. The whole world is witness to that. Yeah. And Pakistan is now, as I said, also doing something beyond the normal soldiering. It's gone to which the Field Marshal has done, which is a tremendous, stupendous, as they say, act in terms of military diplomacy. As a statesman, besides being a military man and the military chief, besides being the CDF, he's also projected himself successfully in the statesman role and as the military diplomat, solving a very, very complicated problem through Urbane, that is a highly sophisticated methodology of this US-Iran conflict, which everybody knows is very complicated, as you just seen. So this is, and not just Iran, there is the Gulf states, and then there is Israel, and so many other issues to that.
Yeah. The world was going
the
through
whole
all
world is witness to that. So having said that, Pakistan's military and the government also, of course, they have worked very sincerely. But the issue is that the opposite side, it's dialectics. You have to see who's the opponent. There are some kinds of opponents who come to an understanding very easily, or whose aims are limited. You have to see, first of all, we need to identify what is the aim of the opposite side. Opposite, I mean Kabul and Delhi. Their aims are not limited. There is since I'm a writer and a military thinker and geopolitician, I keep saying strategy must work according to the environment. When environment changes, your strategy must also change. Similarly, policies. Of course, policy is above strategy. The point is that you asked me a question, what is good for what Afghanistan needs? Yeah. I am answering you in a different way. What does India want? Because India here is the prime actor influencing Afghanistan also. Of course, Afghanistan itself wants this.
India just needs the propaganda, actually.
No, I disagree. Sorry. It's more than that. Yes, it needs propaganda. It needs that regime in Delhi to remain in Delhi as a powerful, as the ruling regime. But it needs more. India has an oversized geopolitical agenda. They are obsessed an obsession which is unrealistic of being a global power, of being a great power like United States, like China. They are not like United States and China. India's got 100 issues within itself. And Pakistan has proved, as you've seen last year also, even previously, and in future if they try something else, Pakistan will again prove that Pakistan can not only defend itself, it can give more than a befitting response to India. Having said that, Pakistan, which basically stands for peace, we are not interested in fighting India, Afghanistan, or anybody. I keep saying, if we are making peace in West Asia, why would we be interested in having a conflict with Afghanistan and India? We're not interested. But the problem is the other side is interested. This is the problem. So peace comes, what is peace? Peace comes when there is absence of conflict. The conflict has been resolved. Yeah. So the conflict is not being resolved, it is partially being managed temporarily for some time, and after that it recurs. This is what is happening. So what I'm trying to say is, when you talk of Kabul, please do not forget Delhi. If you're talking of what does Afghanistan want, or how can we deal with Afghanistan, if you forget about Delhi or what India wants, because India is very much part of it. I kept showing you this book because this book is about Gwadar, and which I made the concept and later wrote this book also. India does not only want to claim our Kashmir, Pakistan's Kashmir, it wants to stop and block Gwadar. Gwadar has got nothing to do with India. But terrorism in Baluchistan, besides other things, is against Gwadar. Yeah. Or when I say Gwadar, I mean the entire CPEC, entire concept of Gwadar coming up as a future Dubai, or Gwadar linking with China and Central Asian states and Russia and all that. It's a great metropolis, changing Pakistan's economy and all that. So what I'm trying to say is that we have to understand that today we are facing a two-front scenario. Whether we like it, whether we say it, whether we don't, but it is a fact. Of course, we don't want it, but it is there. Okay. And that's why the other day on a TV channel, another vein, this was about the Iran and Gulf, I said this, and I'll say it again today, because unless you have the bigger picture in mind, we'll not be able to solve these problems. If you have to solve Afghanistan, it's not by talking about or thinking about Afghanistan alone. We have to see at least Eurasia, Europe and Asia, if not the whole world. So in the Middle East, I keep saying this, Pakistan has gone there again, the field marshal and a government, prime minister, they've done a wonderful work bringing peace. But we have to be very cautious in this. While we support Iran in peace, we do not support Iran in war against anybody. What I'm saying is that Pakistan should not go into a conflict mode in the Gulf or the Middle East. Our aim is to bring peace there, and we have positioned the forces in Saudi Arabia for peace. It's not that we are against anybody, including we are not against Israel, and Pakistan should make it clear. I say it openly. We should make it clear. We have no conflict with Israel or with any other country, and of course not with Iran. And we want peace in the Middle East, which includes all these countries. And for your information, about 10 years ago, in 2015, at the Manama Dialogue, which is in Bahrain, I was government delegate there, a participant. Okay. I gave the idea there that the new security architecture is needed. That is Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Egypt and Pakistan. It was one of my ideas. And I gave these books to people there also. So I'm very happy that there is today work going on in this direction. A new security architecture is coming up and hopefully should come up, including these countries that I've mentioned, and of course Pakistan being in the center of it. Why I'm mentioning this is because you see, the more influence you have in the Middle East, the more wealth that comes to you, the more geopolitical clout you have, and these are Muslim countries, by the way, the more you will be able to influence Afghanistan indirectly also. After all, Afghanistan has to trade with somebody. If they don't trade with us, they have to trade with Iran. See, Afghanistan is a landlocked country. So I'm relating all this to Afghanistan. Besides the other advantages, I'm relating to your subject. See, what I'm trying to say is there is two ways to deal with this issue. A direct way and an indirect way. We should employ both the ways. We should go for it directly against Afghanistan, all that we have to do, whether it is kinetic, which we are doing, and we can increase that. Yeah. But we have to go the indirect way also. We should also offer carrots, and we should also bring pressure. And this pressure is, of course, through China also and with Russia also. And when Russia is linked to Gwadar, or Central Asia is linked to Gwadar, and how things are happening these days, it's through Iran that we are having these corridors, just because the Afghans, they are not playing along. If they were, they could, some of these corridors right to Central Asia would go through Afghanistan, and Afghanistan would benefit. Its trade, its transit, and its employment for so many people. Tens of thousands of people would be employed, bringing goods and doing so many things in between. So Afghanistan needs to be involved in an economic cycle. And you bring this to the lower level, to Balochistan. People ask me, how should we solve for Balochistan? I say, build Gwadar. When we build Gwadar and we have this economic cycle, the Baloch population, patriots of Pakistan, most patriotic people of Pakistan, they are more employed, gainfully employed, in that. So anybody who does terrorism there, they will be isolated because the bulk of the people will be involved in an economic cycle.
See, it's very, very amazing, like people like you sharing their thoughts over how to like have a constructive approach in Pakistan, because we know like a country needs to be peaceful, it needs to like solve all the economic issues and the other issues as well. But Afghanistan, I think they only know one thing, that is war or fighting, because that's why they're there in the government as well. But there is one thing, like if we like consider like things we are going on right now, we are facing right now, is that the since the field marshal is here, Mr. Asim Munir is here, we are like facing things very differently. How do you compare, because you yourself is a like a military thinker, also a brigadier, and you know that how things were actually going on since the past in Pakistan. How do you consider this era, if you do the comparison between this era and the earlier ones? Like Pakistan is going through so much right now, how are we handling this actually?
Well, there is no discussion on that. It's very clear that Pakistan has, as I said, come up in 1 year, just 1 year, May 2025 to June 2026. This is 1 year. Within 1 year, you see yourself, the whole world says it, to read articles, you see videos, you see social media. What does the world say? Before I say, what does the world say or think about Pakistan? It's a different Pakistan. It's a Pakistan which in May 2025 stood up to India, who has, or Indians claim, a GDP 10 times bigger than you, a defense budget 7-8 times bigger than you, and a military force bigger than you, much bigger than you. Despite that, you stood up to them, you fought them for 4 days, and if it had gone further, we would have fought them further. And if they attack us, again, Sindhu 2, we will defend Pakistan, and not only defend Pakistan, I dare say we will strike very, very hard against India. So, and this is not a threat, I'm trying to explain.
This is the reality actually.
This is actually deterrence. We want peace. We are not interested in threatening India, or for that matter anybody. What I'm saying is that if Pakistan is attacked, then 250 million Pakistanis, led by the armed forces and headed by the Field Marshal, CDF, are there to defend Pakistan. So this is as far as this is concerned. Similarly, you've seen the diplomacy and the effect it has created. You brought a lot of goodwill. Even Europe and even those who were skeptical of Pakistan, who were talking of Pakistan as, and this is what they, you asked why. That's why I told you just a minute back that don't forget India. Of course, Afghans have this, or Kabul has this design, but it's rather limited. I mean, their vision or their ambitions are rather limited. Let's say their ambitions are limited to capturing Peshawar or capturing Indus, which of course they can't do. But I'm saying it is in their mind. India's ambitions are global. Try to understand what India's plans are. India's plans are, I want to talk a bit on geopolitics. This is not a subject, but just to give you an insight, because we are facing India. India was hoping for a US-China clash. That is why it went into Quad. It did 100 other things. Then that is why this ocean was called the Indo-Pacific. The Americans are back to the Pacific after President Trump visited China recently after the Iran war. You see, so things are changing. So the Indian game is not being played, and they are highly frustrated. The Indians know that their geopolitical game and their oversized geopolitical agenda is not working out. Leave alone, becoming a global pole or a global power or even a great power. They are not being able to deal with Pakistan. So they are using Afghanistan as much as they can. And now the latest that they have used, and you've heard about that, everybody has, it's called this in the water treaty abeyance. They are weaponizing water. They are denying water to the people of Pakistan. They want 250 million people to not have a drop of water. This is what the Indians are saying. This is what, and of course, if it comes to that, then Pakistan has many answers. But I suggested the other day, and I'm saying it right now, using this opportunity, that Pakistan must not wait. We're holding seminars and we are giving statements. That's very good, and that is needed. But that's not enough. Pakistan needs to chisel and craft a policy, to deal with not just this water terrorism that India is doing, this water weaponization that India is doing, but overall. Because at the end of the day, we must understand that, this is part of Kashmir. This water comes from Kashmir. So we must war game it, People are asking for water, obviously, rightly so, Pakistanis. So what happens if the Indians, after some, global pressure and some discussions and meetings, they agree to it, okay, they will not hold the IWT in this water treaty in abeyance, and they say, okay, you can have this water. And then they say, okay, but then in bargain you leave Kashmir, you stop talking about Kashmir. So you will give up Kashmir. So what I'm trying to say is that we need to rethink. What I'm suggesting is that Pakistan, there is a rethinking needed in Pakistan's national policies, including Kashmir, including Afghanistan, including India. And of course, I, as a geopolitician, am always there to give my input if it is required by anybody.
Yeah, you are absolutely right about it, and I think we are ready somewhere because, you know, as you have just mentioned earlier, that yeah, Pakistan always prefer peace, not only in Pakistan but overall in the world, and we are trying our best to have a peaceful discussion and debate over everything. But still, if something goes bad with us, of course we're gonna answer that. But on the other side, I don't know why India is so obsessed with that. India should listen to their problems. They should handle their issues. They're already not handling the minorities over there. How can they think about that, having another land and having more issues with them? They should focus on their own problems on the first side. And then Afghanistan should focus on their own problems. There are so many problems going on already in Afghanistan and India. Why are they even thinking they're having the illusions they will gonna get another land? Okay, let's move a little bit further. What future do you see right now? What do you think is the alarming situation for Afghanistan if they even think more of doing anything in Pakistan?
Well, the Afghans used to say, using Afghan soil, terrorists have been attacking Pakistan regularly, as you know, in Baluchistan, in KPK, and they might be intruding into Kashmir, Azad Kashmir also, or northern areas.
Yeah.
Now, recently they used drones. You know, they may be rudimentally and shot down by the PF, but they are using them. Tomorrow they will be armed by maybe the Russians or the Indians or anybody else. Today drones are available globally. You can get them dual purpose and then modify them for military use. It's not such a big deal. So many countries, the Houthis have been using them, and Iranians have been using them. So what I'm trying to, tomorrow they might start using drones in a bigger way. They might start using rockets and missiles in a bigger way. So that's what I was saying, that Pakistan must wake up to the fact that Pakistan's national security needs a rethink. That's what I'm talking about. We are, you see the normal discourse. It doesn't take this into consideration. And it doesn't realize that Afghanistan is now acting like a proxy, war proxy. Like you've seen, and Iran had war proxies, and that is one of the reasons that Iran was able to fight Israel and America. So this notion that they're just ragtag guerrilla bands is no longer valid. That they may be, the terrorists, but they're also getting organized. So what I'm trying to say, as the saying goes, nip the evil in the bud. We should not wait. I'm saying on two accounts. One is Afghanistan, what Kabul is doing, and you asked a very brilliant question. What would happen if they go ahead and do more? Well, we don't have to wait for that. My answer to that is, why are we waiting for that? God forbid they do something. Well, they already did, with the trains and Ranger headquarters and, different places in Karachi here and Baluchistan there and KPK. They're doing it constantly. So, tomorrow, you see, Pakistan is geographically not a very wide country, as you notice. So, and for drones today, or even other forms of loitering munitions and all, they're available, or they can be modified, or they can be manufactured even, and rockets and missiles also. So, they may not be able to send these infiltrators or terrorists, so they might do something else. So what I'm trying to say is, why are we waiting for that? We don't have to wait for that. This is a poor strategy. This is a poor strategy. It's the wrong way of thinking. Look, like some people might say, okay, we hope this will not happen. But as they say, and I keep saying always, hope is not a strategy. Strategy is ends means methods. And hope is not a strategy. Hope is what you're hoping for. But strategy is what you're going to do. So we have to be proactive. So we should be strategic. We should be working on making sure that this does not happen. In other words, we should be thinking preemptively. We should be thinking that before this happens, the question we have to answer is, before Afghanistan or Kabul or the terrorists do something big, as you said, or something new, what are we going to do? Why are we waiting for the next thing to happen and then we are going to respond, react to that? We should be doing it. If I was there dealing with these things, I would have done something, but I'm not trying to belittle anyone. I'm just trying to suggest that what we need to do is affect a change in the Kabul regime. Now that can happen in two ways. I said, one is by using disproportionate force. Force is not only military or kinetic. That is one part, a very important part, by the way, but one part. But the other force is, Afghanistan is a landlocked country. Everything has to be imported. And see the borders. Pakistan's borders are, Iran's border is there, and Central Asia is there. So we can get along with these countries. My question is, what are we getting from Iran? We have supported the Iranians, so we should get something in return. We should get something in return. We should make sure that the Chabahar port is not used. Nothing goes into Afghanistan. We should bring about a no-fly zone on Afghanistan. We should bring about, I mean, what I'm trying to say is, you asked a question, what if the Afghans do something big or against Pakistan? What are we going to do? We should make sure that we should choke Afghanistan economically. Now, of course, while we are with the people of Afghanistan, and of course, we should make sure that the regime there in Kabul feels this. Unless the regime in Kabul feels that they cannot go on this way, they will keep doing it, and especially if they're getting largis or goodies and yummies from the Indian side and maybe some other sides also, we'll keep doing it. They'll keep doing it. So we must make sure that the regime in Kabul doesn't do this. Of course, as I said, we must also offer them carrots and other incentives and all the other the positive things. So it's like this, it's carrot and sticks goes together, but you have to increase both that way. And it's a very good question, because the problem in Pakistan is that, an incident happens in Karachi and everybody on media talks, and, there are government statements.
Yeah.
Then after a few days, everybody goes back to other things. There are so many things happening. And then there is something happening, God forbid, in KPK, happening in Baluchistan, happening in Kashmir, or happening anywhere. So, on that count. So that is just not on. And for that part, Punjab, if it has been stable, you should give credit to the CM of Punjab, Mariam Nawaz, that although the Indians don't think that it is stable because the Indians don't want to, or the Afghans, they don't want to. It's because somebody is making an effort here. And one word on this is that there is a greater responsibility of our civil administrations in Peshawar and Quetta. They have a big task. Of course, they alone can't do it, it's understood. But they have to do that. I mean, everybody has to do his duty. Everybody has to do his duty at the end of the day. Only then, when everybody is synergized into the one big national cause, then you are able to deal with it. But I want to say one sentence of this. This is the time when Pakistan is facing this Afghanistan. And you have mentioned this whole topic is Afghanistan, but you don't forget India. I keep repeating that is the bigger and main threat. So practically it means you are having two fronts, that is Afghanistan and India. So when you are having this kind of a situation, a national situation, it's geopolitics. So we should be focusing on geopolitics and reducing the political, things that keep coming in Pakistan. This is not a time for any political discourse or political disarray or a political division in Pakistan. This is a time for national unity of all Pakistanis getting together along with the government and the armed forces and the establishment, and ensuring the defense of Pakistan, whether it is Afghanistan or whether it is India, and any kind of thing that comes.
Yeah, it's very powerful. And as you have just mentioned, this is only one opinion which I am having right now, that is yours. And of course, we have multiple opinions and multiple opinion makers and the military thinkers, because there are people, there are the armed forces, and there is a huge mindset which is always there to strategize everything which we can think we can face. And of course, the illusions having by Afghanistan or India will never come true, because we are always aware about everything they can do. We know about how long they can go, and of course we have a plan for that as well. And right now the current situation which I want to mention is that how 29 terrorists were killed in Afghanistan, and how they are trying to defend themselves somewhere, because of course embarrassment is always sad to bear. And now they are going through that, and they're just coming onto the media saying that no, this is not true, or what is going on there is not like that. But actually everyone has witnessed that how if anyone even tries to look in Pakistan will get a very, very worse answer. Thank you so much, Brigadier Nadir. It was lovely having you here, and the discussion was really amazing, and I hope that you must have you must be asking so many questions, so you can tell in the comments. And with that, I am going to say goodbye to you for now, but I will catch you back in another episode. Take care. Bye-bye.